before the meeting starts, I'll go ahead and say this. We're losing one, I think, to the council, maybe. Since he just got here.
My weight?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I was talking about you.
All good things, I hope.
Yeah, I was saying, I think you're running for council, right?
How are you? Yes, sir.
Okay.
Place
Do
3.
you have a candidate against you?
I do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's I'd have to pull up the email to find his name.
Richard Plandera.
Yeah.
John, lunch is over in the other room if you would.
I'm good,
like.
thank
Okay.
you.
It's good. It's really good.
It's really good.
I was smelling barbecue from 7 o'clock this morning, so I'm glad to know that that's what's going in my belly.
That's awesome.
I wasn't sure if I was gonna eat today. We do a celebration, first day of school celebration with my girls, to take them out to dinner somewhere nice, let them dress up and everything, so we went to Keepers Hall last night. And, oh, their special was really good. I had the filet with a bourbon glaze over top of it.
Okay, well, it's 12 o'clock somewhere.
Too quickly.
All right. I'd like to call to order the Economic Development Corporation meeting for the City of Whitehouse. Susan, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Bob Breedlove, Charles Parker,
Here.
Cindy Miller,
Here,
Ernie LaFleur, John Chambers,
Here.
Maria Davenport,
Here.
and Tom Turnbull.
Here,
We have a quorum.
Great. First item is the consent agenda. Hope you've all had a chance to read through those. Is there any adjustments, amendments, or anything? Or otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion. Accepted.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Moving on, item C, presentations. We don't have any. Item D is public forum. I don't see anybody in the audience. Unless somebody wants to step out and become an audience member for a minute and talk the rest to us, we'll move on to the agenda. Seeing none. Agenda, item E, agenda items. Number 1, staff update on the RFP for the Economic Development Strategic Plan. Hopefully you all had a chance to look at the packet and see the proposal that was in there. And Leslie, take the wheel, please.
If you looked at that proposal and went down to the price sheet, you saw that the total bid came in at about $155,000. I knew when we were putting this plan together, you know, it was an all-encompassing package. It was everything you could need or want to know about your economic development as an organization. But that cost obviously is not something that staff would recommend. It would take your entire fund balance for the EDC to do that project and the bid the way that it is structured now. So we went back and took a look at maybe some areas within that scope that would probably be most beneficial to start with. And then if we wanted to do and gather separate information later, we could do so. So looking at it, staff would recommend, and they kind of broke their scope of work up a little bit differently in the initial scope and the price difference. So staff would recommend that we start with their facilitation services, the data collection, and then the cluster, location quotient, target industry, and operational analysis. And looking at their deliverables under each of those projects, it's on page, starts on page 11 of their bid. I feel like that would get us a great starting point and operational plan to work from in the beginning. For me, one of the biggest things is really kind of identifying and getting some consensus on what our target industries would be and how we go about attracting those. And I think that combination of services would get us there. So that would be staff's recommendation.
This was the only RFP we got?
Yes, sir.
Were there any other interested parties even?
So we sent it to several different firms. I reached out to Scott Martinez with the Tyler Economic Development Corporation. He provided a name. I sent it to that firm. Sent it to Tom Mullins. I sent it to several other firms in the state and did not get responses, obviously, from them. So we could go back out with a new RFP with a more limited scope and see if we get more responses from there. I think we probably would. So that was the direction I would ask. If that's what you want to do, I would ask that you reject this bid and then we'll go out with a new RFP. So you have two options. You can reject it all, not do anything. You can reject it, do a new RFP, or we can go back with the one bidder that we received with a more limited scope and see what that price would be.
Thoughts?
I like the idea of rejecting this, going in, limiting the scope a little bit, and then going back in and seeing if we could get more people. This is, I went through it, and I got to this, I went, whoa, whoa.
We did too.
So, my thoughts are, unless they're gonna be here for a couple of months with that entire staff, it's probably not worth that much. I don't know.
It was a big plan. I mean, to put the amount of information together that we were asking for in that scope, I can see why it came in at what it did. So, yeah, I think staff would.
I did appreciate the homework that they did. I thought that they knew what they were talking about when I read through it, and that impressed me.
I like that they did a site visit
Yeah.
to prepare their proposal.
Right.
Yeah, I did like that.
So, you know, from that standpoint, I was very impressed. I liked the staff in terms of their educational background experience. I thought all that was very thorough in that. You know, it just appears like these people know what they're doing, I guess is
Oh, yeah.
what I felt good about. What I don't feel good about, just like everybody else, is the price tag. And I kind of agree with Tom. You know, I guess just from my perspective, I think going back out and redoing the whole, rejecting this and asking for new bids and limiting that scope, I think is, because after all, from my point of view, what we're looking for is to narrow our focus and to drill down into where we're best gonna be able to fit with the limited funds that we have. I mean, am I wrong in that assessment? I mean, it's not like, you know, we have millions of dollars and we, you know, have great opportunity to do things. We're trying to do the best we can on a limited budget.
Okay, so if we reject these RFPs and this proposal, and I go back out with a new RFP, is everyone comfortable with, you know, an overall data collection, facilitation of services, and really just developing an action plan to move us forward, and developing maybe a target industry or a few, and then an action plan going forward, limiting the scope to that, or were there other things in there that are really important for you all to see?
I don't know, let's kind of think about that.
There's some opportunities out there in data collection.
Right. Yeah, they'll
Where-
have a ton of information.
A lot of the information that they're gonna be collecting is that the city can get for free right now. A lot of stuff that they're gonna collecting, we've already paid for, and they just, I say we, the EDC has not paid for, other companies might have paid for, and we have the ability to go out and pull that data down. So there's some, maybe look at what is available and what they were proposing, cause I know some of the stuff, I was like, oh, we can get that for free, why would we even pay for that?
Well, okay, two things, the land use analysis, that seems relatively important. I mean, because if something did come in, where is it at? I mean, Susan has great maps, but, you know, it would be great if we had that in a single document. But does that have to come through this or through other sources?
So Susan and I have kind of been back and forth on the land use, just internal discussions, because we know that our comprehensive plan and existing land use and zoning is probably a little bit outdated and is in need of being updated. And so, you know, we kind of debated, is that something we want to do now? Because I know the city council is looking at doing the comprehensive plan process potentially as early as January. So is it better included there, or do you want to go ahead and take it on?
I would rather it be in the comp plan, honestly, from
I think we
my
all had,
perspective.
my fear though is that if we don't do it and the comp plan gets pushed, you know, then
Right.
it doesn't get done. So, it's kind of what comes first, chicken or the egg, kind of thing. So right now, the plan is to at least have a discussion again in January about whether or not we want to move forward with the comprehensive plan.
And even if you decided in January to move forward with it, you're still looking at a pretty lengthy process, so it's not gonna be,
18 months.
yeah, that's not gonna just snap your fingers and it happens. So that's another consideration. It's a matter of whether you wait or not. Tourism strategies, no. Marketing strategies, no.
Yeah, I think we start with our goals,
I think-
target
yeah, I think-
industries
yeah.
first, and then if we want to develop marketing strategies based on those recommendations, we would do so. That would just be my thought.
I think you gotta build it before you market it.
See what the needs are for this area, and then go from there, because, you know, we're primary job markets, there aren't a whole lot of them, they're gonna go here, they're gonna go to Tyler, but it's one of those things where you can partner. Cause I just learned this today, I didn't realize this, every manufacturing job that comes in, it builds 4 to 6 jobs behind it in the community. This one blew my mind. I was talking economic development earlier in another, but every retired, I hate to say it this way, every wealthy retired person that comes into a community brings with it 3.25 jobs. And so when you start looking at that, then you start looking, okay, what can we offer? And how do we bring those people with those jobs into this community? Not retired, but
Well,
the people that are, if they're gonna build a plant up somewhere else, bring the partner and bring the people that wanna live here, because we offer a lot of really good things.
and to go to your retirement point, I mean, and I've often thought this, if you had a really nice retirement, a residential community here, you're gonna draw in more docs, you're gonna draw in more pharmacy needs, more healthcare needs in general, and all of that stuff comes with higher paying jobs. I mean, that's just,
So is there a reason that all these things have to be either or? Like, could we, like, so say we get the, just the target industries or whatever, we don't need a full marketing plan or a full marketing strategy, but could we get like the initial steps peeled off of that and just say,
well, I think there's a big difference between when you say marketing versus what you're targeting. Okay, in other words, when you create your plan, you're saying, this is where we wanna go, these are the types of things we wanna do.
Right.
And there's a difference between that and putting together the plan that's actually gonna sell it. So, yeah, Does that make sense? That's the way I see it. Or am I looking at this wrong?
I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't expect them to go all the way down to telling us, you know, particular messaging that we would use to go and capture that, right? That's in a robust marketing plan. But what I would prefer to see is something that just says like, you know, if say we're going after medical, what is like, that's a very broad topic, right? Like, so what is our first 2 steps, right? Like, let's not even talk about specific messaging. Like, let's say, where are those people? Cause I don't know where that answer is.
So to me, I would expect, like, I'll kind of refer back to the city's strategic plan. So we have big old steps at the top that say, you know, create, I don't remember exactly how it's worded,
Proper governance is
about
one.
like a green space, you know, downtown green area. But the steps are identify the necessary partners to provide the funding for this step. And so for me, if we had a targeted industry, there would be steps under that to move us forward.
Okay.
I think that's what you're asking.
That
for.
is,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah, I think, you know, if it said you want to attract a hospital facility, well, the next step is to identify parcels that are large enough to facilitate a hospital facility and that would have connectivity to facilitate a hospital.
Okay, that explains it perfectly. That's all I was asking.
Could that be part of what you said, an action plan to go
Yes.
along with the
Yes, so
targeted
whatever your
industries?
goals are, how do
Okay.
we move forward? and
Yeah, so we don't need the
attaining those.
marketing plan right now. We just need the
Right, I
action
don't need
plan.
you to put together a brochure necessarily, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree then.
Yeah. Okay.
Need to make-
Okay, so what we need is here, we need a motion to reject. Let's just do this in 2 separate motions. We need a motion to, accept or reject, the, strategic plan proposal that is in front of us. What was the name of that, name of the company? Anthem, yeah,
Anthem.
yeah, so,
I'll make a motion to reject the proposal put forth by Anthem.
okay, motion on the floor to have a second.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The Anthem proposal is rejected. Now then, we'll need to make a motion if you wish to send this out for RFP on a more limited scope.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Cindy. Any further discussion or anything else y'all want to talk about with regard to what we're actually going out for? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 2, discuss broadband initiatives and next steps to include hiring a consultant to conduct a feasibility study.
As you all know, for the last, I don't know how many months, we've been talking about broadband and ways to increase broadband services in the city. We had looked at several different things, either maybe partnering with the East Texas Council of Governments on some grant or funding opportunities they were gonna have. But we were quickly reaching the point that I was kind of, to move us forward would exceed my technical capabilities and knowledge. So I've been discussing with Mr. Chambers and Mayor Wansley some ways to kind of move this forward in a way that I think would be helpful and beneficial. Mr. Chambers was great to put us in contact with some people that are in this field, but I think staff's recommendation to move forward would be to do a fiber network feasibility study and needs assessment. I reached out to some other cities that have done different ways of expanding broadband access in their communities, whether They put in the fiber and then turn around and lease it to a private company to provide service, all the way up to cities running municipally owned broadband utilities. And so we've been talking to some other cities, and that is how we ended up with this RFQ, actually, was through their recommendation. And it would look at several different levels of service, or I guess city-owned facilities, and would identify maybe, or make recommendations on a good route for us to proceed. So this came from the city of Cedar Park at the recommendation of another city, Mont Bellevue, and so staff has put it together. We did go ahead and take this to the city council for their review as well, because we have a unique funding opportunity right now to pay for this out of some grant funds through the federal government, through American Rescue Plan Act funding, so it wouldn't be an EDC expenditure, but it could be an EDC project, if that makes sense. So the scope is identified beginning on page 10 of the RFQ, and would look at a city-only fiber backbone, fiber to the node, fiber to the curb, fiber to the building, and fiber to the home. And then if fiber to the home is not the best option, a roadmap to get the best option for fiber to the home, as well as a few other things, so. What questions do you have for Dawn?
I'm excited, by the way. I think this is a big thing.
From my perspective, I think this is the best option to get us moving forward if we're really serious about increasing broadband service and opportunities in our community. I really feel like this is a really good way to keep this project moving forward. I don't have the bandwidth or the technical capability to really kind of move us beyond the discussions that we've had so far.
Well, I think we've had plenty of discussion without moving forward with anything, and I'm tired of talking about it. I think it's time for some action involved with it, and if this will move us forward in a positive direction, I think that's good. I think we all agree on the reasons and some various outcomes of it. We just kind of like to see what it looks like in reality, maybe. And understand, once you get a plan put together, then you can move forward, I think. So, I like it.
I agree.
Especially if the grant money's there.
Especially if we're not having to write the check.
So through the American Rescue Plan, the city is expecting to receive about $2.2 million, and there are about 4 or 5 categories that we can spend those funds on, and increasing broadband access is a huge part of that. So we're excited about it. Funding comes available on projects we've been talking about for a while, so it's making use of those funds. As mentioned, we were working with ADJOURN trying to get some fiber maps. The maps that they were able to produce or release, in my opinion, weren't incredibly helpful. And I think my concern on that is the timing and maybe the level of bureaucracy that's involved in waiting on those funds. I don't want to see us get into a situation where we're waiting on their funding opportunities for them to not come through, because they're serving a 14-county area. At least in this case, we're working towards our own best interests.
Connected Texas is a good place to go find better data.
They pulled from there as well, so it's still kind of limited on that information.
Do we need to bless this?
I would like for you to. There's one typo we're going to fix before we release it, but yes, that would be great. And that way we can really make it a city and EDC kind of joint partnership effort officially.
Okay. I guess the motion would be to approve the RFQ to move forward for broadband. Do I have a motion?
100%. Better get this so you have my motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
I have a motion, Dan, a second. Would there be any further discussions or questions with regard to it? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously.
Also, thank you, Leslie, for your work on this.
This is great.
Okay, agenda item E3, discuss and consider the after-hours event. Now that we're officially members of
Taba?
Now
TABA.
TABA event, members, that's as far as I've gotten on this since our last meeting though, I'll be honest. Haven't moved forward. Susan has put together some great maps and identified the larger parcels that we have available. But I just haven't had a chance to move this forward like I'd hoped in the last few weeks, so, we will continue to press on. I know TABA is still holding their after-hours events, so we'll get back in touch with them now that, I just received our official letter last week, so.
Well, and to be honest, as I'm thinking about the COVID levels and the Delta variant and whatever else and the hospitals being full, I don't necessarily have a problem with waiting for this so that we can get the most impact that we can, should some people feel uncomfortable with a public gathering. So I'm not upset with the delay, I guess is what I'm saying. So if we wind up stalling this off till 3 months from now or something, I don't think that's a deal breaker, do y'all?
No.
Yep.
And there is an after-hours event planned for the chamber, and so I'm wondering,
Yeah,
would this conflict with that, and,
yeah, we would prefer to not step
Yeah.
on that, I think. Right. So, I would say we bring this back up at the next meeting to firm up a date, or if you'll wanna circle something, if staff wants to,
We'll check with
Circle
TABA and
something
see
on
how
the-
far out they're scheduling
Yeah.
some things and see
right.
when we can maybe pencil something in.
I mean, the data shows that in the other countries that were hard hit with the Delta variant, it disappeared as quickly as it hit. So I'm hoping that, fingers crossed, that we have a similar type situation and then it'll move through quickly. And then that way, then I think we'd all feel better about the planning things that go with it. I did a nice job tying that all together too,
You did.
didn't I? You see, kept it under the agenda. Loosely.
No, you did good.
Okay. Okay. Consider future agenda items. Y'all got anything? Leslie?
Let's move to reports from staff, and then we may have something.
Okay.
for future agenda items. How about that?
Then let's,
Tie it together and keep us legal.
let's skip item 4, move on to administrative reports, and item F1. Receive reports from staff.
So you have the financial report in the packet. The EDC fund balance is sitting at about $153,000 right now, so, that's good news. But I'll update you on a few other things that we have going on, just as a part of maybe the city manager's report. Susan and I met with a home developer just this morning, our team did, and they're looking at kind of researching options. I think all total would be probably 300 homes between 2 different parcels. One would be the continuation of a parcel that began development several years ago, and then the other one is a parcel that no construction has happened on, so we were excited about that. Would require some zone changes to do what they want to do, so I don't want to get everybody's hopes too high, because we're in the very early processes of those discussions, so. But we continue to see builders and developers interested in the area, so that is a good thing. I also talked with one of our current developers. He is desperately trying to find a way to get broadband into his neighborhood and has had some preliminary discussions with ATTEST about extending fiber from Bascom down to Hagen Road. I've asked him to go back and really understand what his contribution would need to be for that, and it may provide an EDC partnership opportunity going forward, because if we can get fiber all the way down 346 to the edge of the city limits would be huge, and I think a great opportunity for the EDC if we were able to move forward with that. So we're in the very early discussions of that. He was trying to set up a meeting with ATTEST to get that information back to us. So if you see, I think if we get more information, we'll put that under an executive session for a future agenda item. We still have some commercial projects that have gone kind of quiet on us, but they haven't disappeared. Some of the things we've previously talked about, I think they're just in the middle of doing their due diligence. And kind of, we've started to see some demo over at Ackertap and 110 on that project, but I haven't seen anybody over there in a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure what's holding that up, but we're glad to see some movement on that. What else? Is there anything else?
I think so. The main thing was the developers from today.
So how many residential customers does E-Tech have in Whitehouse? Or are they all
Zero.
commercial?
They're all commercial.
Okay.
They only have one community that they have been working on doing residential service for. And that was part of my conversation with the developer. He said though that they would be willing to, if it's open trench, they're a little bit more willing to do some fiber installation to serve residential for new development. Cause I think open trench is just a little bit easier than if they're trying to retrofit something that's already in, so we'll see. I haven't heard back from them, that's been a couple of weeks now
Good.
since we had those discussions, but we'll see, what they say. Just trying to think if there's anything else. Under the American Rescue Plan, I think we'll have quite a bit of opportunity. A couple of the things that we can use that for are water, wastewater, and stormwater projects. So one of the issues that have maybe held us back on economic development is the lift station down at 110, kind of over there in Chuck Osborne's area. So that's on our list to look at, is maybe some lift station upgrades over there, which would help development across the highway in the future. So that's on our list. We have a bunch of big pieces of white paper in our break room back there that we're just kind of brainstorming anything and everything. Park maintenance is another one. As you know, EDCs can help with park improvements, but that $2.2 million can also be used for park maintenance. So we've got several of those projects listed on there. The broadband feasibility study, and anything that comes out of that study would be an allowed project under that $2.2 million. I think we have until 2024 to identify projects for that funding. So it's a huge deal that we're really excited about. You never get $2.2 million to do this kind of stuff with. So
And we're moving forward with the building and grounds, or not the grounds.
the facilities plan.
Facilities, yes.
So if you remember, we bought 109 East Main. As a part of that, we're trying to do a facilities plan for all of our city facilities. I talked with the architect earlier this week, so I've got to get him a little bit more information so that we can get our contract moving forward, and then we'll start get that project kicked off as well. So, we're also at the very early stages. I just saw the portal this week doing an asset management program so that we can do GIS-based tracking, mapping of all of our infrastructure systems. So we kind of have it now. This will make it a little bit easier for our staff to go in and update condition assessments and track costs for replacement and those types of things. So we've got a lot in the works that I think all kind of ties back into economic development, those maps, and having that available to potential developers, being able to map subdivisions in progress or that are coming will be important for any future retailers or commercial developments.
You've been busy.
Very.
Our little feet are running just as fast as that little hamster wheel's going as fast as it can, I think, for all of us.
How long till y'all are gonna get to, I guess the total GIS mapping of, I know we've got all the properties, but the status of those, what's on the property and get it, I guess I'll put it into the database, internal.
I'm hoping, so we've got our login on the staff side, we're gonna do some staff testing right now on that. I'm hoping by the end of the year, we'll have some good different portals and stuff out there for everybody. But it's really robust. I think one of one of the things that will hold us back the most is getting some staff buy-in. A lot of it is pretty public works heavy, and so we have a really great champion in our public works department that's really kind of pushing that project forward, but we'll be limited for a little bit on kind of getting their buy-in and showing them the value of it over time. But I think it'll be really useful for everybody once we get it up and running. So.
And the great advantage of infrastructure projects is that it does help your economic development. But on the other side of it, it sometimes can increase your staff needs for the city. And so, you know, you're dealing with, you know, a cost that can be long-term on top of that, so. And that's what we have to be careful with, I think, with any of our projects as well, is, you know, looking at the personnel cost behind it, and not just not necessarily just the economic value, so you gotta have the cause and effect, so.
Right, I mean, not even for public works necessarily, but adding 300 homes, if that adds 800 people, well, you need an additional police officer, you're gonna need, you know.
The school district is gonna have, there's gonna be a lot of collateral.
Right.
You're not supposed to say
I
that.
didn't want
Impacts.
Impacts.
Yeah, it creates a ripple effect.
Watch your words now, use your big boy words.
Positive connotation.
It started to come out, and I was like, no, that's not what I want to say.
It's exciting though, I think we're seeing a lot of the efforts of the council and starting the EDC, and a lot of that is really starting to come to fruition in a very, in a way that seems smooth to our external customers, so I'm excited about it. And we do it with 2 people in our development staff, so, 1.5, I guess, with Susan and Jody, so. It's good stuff.
Growth is a good thing.
Growth is good. And, you know, this is something, and when you receive these reports and you hear the things that we're doing, and we go through this, you have to understand it wasn't very many years ago that the majority of this community was for no growth. And they didn't want new people coming in, they don't want new businesses, they just wanted Whitehouse to remain the same. And it wasn't until we started getting some growth and the demographics changed a little bit, and then all of a sudden people are like, well, the only way you get the infrastructure cost down is by having growth. And the only way that you get the things that you want with the amenities that go with it. So it really is I don't know, a building process, but maintaining that growth level, you know, it's gotta be more than the 4 to 5%, you know, we really need that. 4 to 5% is nice, but we really would like to see 7, 8%, I think, you know, getting closer to that double digits, because 3%, well, with the inflation the way it is now, I mean, you've gotta have some different things to continue that revenue coming in, and to ease the process on the homeowner, because that's always been my goal when I was on the council, and it's been my goal here, is how do we control property taxes, and how do we get those rates down? And I think the best way is through total economic growth, so that you're spreading out those costs over a larger number of residences and homes and people and all of the things that go with that. So, you know, you spread it out more, and that lowers the cost for everybody, so, anyway.
In our appraised values, we had $23 million in new construction this year.
That's a lot for a Whitehouse.
Yeah.
And then, in a year where building materials are in short supply, that's,
Right.
it's even more impressive.
Price of wood, that might just be one house.
I did hear that plywood went from $43 a sheet to $24 a sheet in like the last week.
That's great. That's great.
Wow. Okay, anything else on the reports, any comments or discussion on that?
I think our total valuation was up 8%, so lot of that's from that new construction, so that's good.
Mhm.
About half was new construction.
Yeah. We need another big project.
We're wheeling and dealing today.
Well, the economic reality is, even though a large percentage of our customers in Whitehouse are gonna go to Tyler to buy things, but the other reality is that, that would be some interesting data to see, is, you know, since COVID, you know, we know our sales tax revenue has gone up tremendously because people are buying from Amazon or Walmart or whatever, it's being delivered to their home. So our sales tax revenue for the city has gone up. So I would like to, I'm now wondering, so every new residential house that you add with the average of, what is it, 2.75 or 3.25 people or whatever it is that comes in, what is, you know, because used to, we were basically getting like $1.50, because you were talking earlier about, you know, if you bring this in, you get 4 times the dollar, 5 times the dollar, 6 times the dollar. You know, about a decade and a half ago, it was about 1.5, so per person. You know, and I'm wondering what that is now. I mean, it's
gotta be way more.
It's got to be way more as a result of it. And I think more people are dining here. There's more people doing things here. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what that trends for us going forward. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. So speculation on my part. But
And all the towns around here, I think they're seeing, you know, a trend up, especially in sales tax. I mean, it's just trending up like crazy once, because Amazon is just that easy.
Yeah.
It's the easy button.
yeah,
And
one click.
Well, and stores don't have things, so the only way to buy things are to get online and find it on Amazon.
Even toilet paper.
Exactly. Well, Brookshire's has done pretty good at keeping that in stock.
But I would say the other thing that has happened, in, at least in my opinion, in Whitehouse, is the quality of the establishment has gotten better and better and better. I eat more in Whitehouse than I ever have.
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of people, especially due to COVID, are just trying to stay close.
Yeah.
And I think that's really helped. So whatever y'all done to keep getting those quality institutions in, keep them coming.
I think in my opinion, Susan has worked really hard, and I know she did even before I got here, to make her development processes streamlined, easy. One of the best selling points we have is that when you come in and develop in Whitehouse, you have one point of contact. You know, there's no question of who you need to talk to, are you gonna end up on hold, you know, what the process is gonna be. Susan has done a great job of streamlining that, keeping the entire team on track to move stuff forward. Can't say enough great things about our development processes. And that, we even told the developer that this morning when they came in to meet with us. We're like, look, you've only got 2 people on our team, so you're not lost in an endless wheel of trying to get a hold of the right person. So yeah, we're excited. Great things are happening. That's all I have for today.
Okay.
Pretty short and sweet, but a lot of work behind the scenes.
Y'all are doing a phenomenal job. I absolutely am amazed at where we have come, and especially considering the challenges of lockdowns and COVID and, you know, all of the different things and challenges that were thrown at your doorstep. And, you know, you know, it's really impressive.
Weather.
So,
Had my fill of disasters though, so it's gonna lay off, that would be great.
I would appreciate that too.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. Tom feels her pain on that one.
I feel your pain.
No more snowstorms or pandemics or anything else. Floods.
still have emotional scars.
I will say though, as much rain as we got
It's got
yesterday,
visible scars.
only have an issue on 110, goes to show how much work has been done on the stormwater front. We were talking about, I don't want all of the hard work that's been done over the last 10 years in the city to address stormwater issues to go unnoticed, because it was done before I got here. It's not to toot my own horn, but all that was done before I got here. And to only had that issue yesterday is a good thing.
What caused it yesterday? Like, I know we got a lot of
Well,
rain, obviously,
Is the road
there's,
in a floodplain? I mean,
was there downstream blockage? Cause I don't recall it ever flooding since I've been here.
6 to
Once
7
before
inches
it
of
has.
rain
It
in
has?
about
Yeah.
3 hours. I mean, it's done it before. That's all
it's
floodplain down
Done
there.
it before. The last time that we had one of those, we had a couple of subdivisions underwater.
Yeah,
Really?
we had,
Wow.
I've
how
seen
long
some
Someone
ago?
from the high school flooded really, really bad,
yeah,
what,
20,
4 years ago?
it was 2015 or
2015.
2016.
No kidding. Wow.
So that's
And
what
it
I
didn't
mean,
even
like,
seem to me like we had gotten that much rain whenever all of that flooded.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the residents there realized they were gonna be flooded that night when they went to bed.
That was my first opportunity to declare the city of Whitehouse a disaster.
Opportunity, that's how you do spin right there. Opportunity.
The first opportunity. That's wordsmithing.
so cities are limited on what they can do in watershed areas and wetlands. So there's a delicate balance between protecting wetlands and managing stormwater, and you cannot divert, or any way change water that comes into a wetland, and that is all wetlands down there, so,
It's,
Everything back behind where Chuck Osborne's place is, that creek, and everything is all wetlands. You can't touch it, you can't, I mean,
cannot increase, decrease, any way, shape, or form change the flow into a wetland, into or out of.
It's a water moccasin breeding facility is what I heard.
about the only thing that you can do is, perhaps a mobile rodent eradication program.
We can do debris management, keep limbs, trunks, other things
What-
out of it, but
that's a large area down there, large wetland area, very large. I don't know how many acres.
Hundreds.
Have we ever thought about utilizing that as a benefit to the city, or anything in possibly deed restricting it, creating a mitigation bank that folks could use for offsetting any impacts to streams or wetlands in other areas?
I don't know that we have.
It was discussed.
Yeah.
It was discussed.
Okay.
And all I heard was, and again, from my memory, but all I heard was is to do anything, to even consider doing anything down there required a 504 permit, which for the U.S. Corps of Engineers,
Oh, 404.
504, 404.
Yeah,
It's the same permit.
yeah.
It's the same permit as if you were gonna build Lake Columbia.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and you gotta worry about, some flea or some minnow or whatever else that might be down there. that-
Nutra.
Yeah, Nutra, or whatever else, and so,
And anything historical. that might-
anything historical that could be there and so on and so forth. And so you're talking more money to do this study than you would ever see an economic benefit out of anything down there. Cause you're talking just to file the permits around probably $450,000, $500,000.
Is there a plan to raise the road? Like, I'm not talking grading it, I'm talking about,
That would be TxDOT.
TxDOT would have to do that.
TxDOT.
but there's no discussion about it? Like, they're just like, yeah, you got a road, you're good.
I don't know. That's,
Is it the same ones that would control what they put on top of it?
don't get me started. I'm being recorded, so I don't want that being out there for all of posterity. So my comments on that.
Retreat. Executive session.
So, okay, moving back up to item E, number 4, consider future agenda items. You heard all the reports, all the different things that were there, other than business after hours and the RFQ for the proposals. I don't really see anything else on the horizon until we get a better direction, or unless something comes up. Okay, so, I think we're just kind of being standby holding mode a little bit here. Am I wrong?
We will get that RFP reposted pretty quickly. Draft date I had in there for the broadband feasibility study come back, I think was September 16th, so that wouldn't even make your September meeting back for us to talk about, but we'll keep plugging away.
I think we're probably looking at October before we circle back with anything.
We'll have two big things in October, then the broadband and hopefully the strategic plan proposals back, so.
So, but if anyone thinks of anything in the meantime, you're welcome to reach out to me or Leslie or Susan and have that placed on the agenda. I don't know, unless there's anything else. We're kind of wait and see. And in my opinion, we really have a hard time moving forward until we really get the ball rolling on our direction through a strategic plan. I mean, I don't want to waste everyone's time having an hour meeting at your lunch, and I know we all have other things to do anyway, and waste staff time trying to put all this together if we don't need to, so let them work, they're busy, and then when we really get going, then will be the time to have all hands on deck, if you will, I think.
Okay.
So we'll plan to meet in October.
Okay,
Great.
anything else, guys? Did I cover everything on the agenda? Nothing for executive session. That's this time, item I. Motion to adjourn. It's 12:51. Done.
Easy enough.
Easy peasy.
So on the tollway, right? Like, is that pretty much whole right now as well? Like, does anybody know? I know it's not an EDC issue, but.
I don't think they figured out where they're gonna cut through
Right.
Chapel Hill.
We have three, I think they're back to
They had three proposals.
I think I've heard that